Hey guys, it's Kevin in my review for Just Mercy. And what Just Mercy essentially about is we center on this character of Bryan Stevenson. He is, of course, a real-life attorney, and basically he is alerted about all of these prisoners that have been falsely accused of certain, murders and things like that, and they've been put on death row. But predominantly, he is dealing with Walter McMillian. This is a man that has been accused of murdering this woman that he clearly did not commit. He clearly did not commit this crime at all, but he has been here for a long time. And so we follow Stevenson as he gets to know the harsh realities of death row a little bit more and how just corrupted of a system that really is, but also him doing everything he can to try to get this man that freedom that he really does deserve and acquit him of these charges. And that's really all I'm going to say. So, Just Mercy. I have an interesting history with this film because I started off thinking that this looked like total Oscar bait. I mean, it had a huge star-studded cast. It's a film that was coming out in December, and it looked like it was going to be a real tearjerker. So I didn't think it was going to be that great. And then the second trailer came out, and I became way more interested in what was going on. I was significantly warmer towards that trailer, so that got me a little bit more hyped up, but still not to the point where I was like hyped out of my mind for this movie, like I need to see this before the year ends. But in fact, I did see it before I made my best list, and I'm actually really happy that I saw this movie because this is a lot better than I was expecting. This is a great film that I don't think is getting nearly enough attention that it does deserve. We're just getting to it now, starting off with the cast. And look, with such a star-studded ensemble, it's to be expected that the cast is really good here, but everyone, I think, turns out some really great work here. And let's start off talking about Michael B. Jordan, who, I mean, I've said it before, this is one of the best actors, I think, working today. He rarely has a misstep in terms of performances. Even movies like Fantastic Four, it's not his fault that that performance didn't work out. He's still and I think he's just gotten better and better as he's gone on in his career. And his performance of Bryan Stevenson is really great because he's an attorney that is so dedicated to what he's doing, but he also has to remain professional. And so there are certain things that he can't really show his emotion during, but you also get to see how wrapped up he does get in this case. He really does change as a person here throughout this entire film, and Jordan does a really great job exploring the subtleties of how much this is affecting this character, and I feel like a lesser actor would not really be able to pull that off, but Jordan does such a great job, especially one scene involving him at church. That's really all I'm going to say, but scenes like that, he just did such a excellent job here, and he's continuing to show why he is one of the best out there right now. But it is Jamie Foxx who is the absolute standout of this entire film, and he really sinks his teeth into this role. He has not been this good in quite some time. And look, I've always loved Jamie Foxx as an actor, but I feel like recently he's either been in things where he's not in it enough to stick out, or he's just not really that amazing. But here, he is fantastic in this role. And again, it's not as showy of a performance as you would expect. Walter McMillian is a very calm guy. He's someone who is under a lot of stress, obviously, but he doesn't show it very much. He's very reserved. He's far more soft-spoken than you would expect him to be, but because of how much emotion and how much, just passion he pours into this role, you really do feel every second of what he's going through, and he had some truly standout work in this movie. One scene especially involving him after a certain revelation has taken place in a jail cell, phenomenal. I thought he did some just truly amazing work here, and definitely one of the best performances of his career, one of the best performances I've ever seen from him, and for me, should absolutely be in the conversation for Best Supporting Actor. The fact that he's not gotten more recognition, I think is absurd. I think he absolutely should be in there. The work he's doing here is incredible, and it's just much closer to what I want to see from him. I'm hoping things like Soul this year can really put him in a much better direction, because this film really does show how great of an actor Foxx is when he is working with the right material, and he is just fabulous here. But the supporting cast also churns out some really great work. Someone that nobody is talking about that I really wish was getting a lot more attention was Rob Morgan. He plays a role that, yes, is supporting, but it is a very, very memorable one. This is a guy that's been on death row for a very long time. He's growing more and more hopeless as the film goes on, and his scenes in the movie are probably the ones that are going to get the most to you emotionally. There was one scene especially that really evoked that of the Green Mile for me. I don't want to get into it too much, but it was very hard to watch, and it wasn't to the level of that movie, but Morgan's performance here is just absolutely spectacular in this film, and I loved what he ended up doing. And I've really loved him as an actor in other things, like Last Black Man in San Francisco earlier last year, but this is the best I've ever seen him. And again, it's a smaller role, but he really, really makes it a memorable one. I thought he did some great work here. Tim Blake Nelson as well is also really great. He's just another perfect example of a man that has been wrongly accused of something, and how manipulated he's been like throughout the years. And I thought he did some great work. Rafe Spall and Brie Larson are also really good. Everyone really does do a great job in this movie. I don't really think there's a performance here that's like, oh, that's a weak link, or like they're not sticking out as much. Like, everyone really is pretty great here. But now let's get to the directing and the writing, because the directing in this film, I know a lot of people are going to be excited for this director because he's the director of Short Term 12. Unfortunately, I have yet to actually see that movie, but after this film, I really hope I do, because I thought his directing here was so great. He's so unapologetic and raw with the way he directs this film, but you can also tell just how affected he's been by all of this. But he doesn't do it in a way that feels Hollywoodized. He portrays this in a very realistic manner. I mean, nothing about this film really feels like a movie. It feels like this could actually, this is how this would conceivably happen. If then the situation, of course, did end up happening, and you could tell he really did do his research there, and just the rawness of this film is what really spoke to me, and I thought he did a really great job with the directing here. But the screenplay is what really stuck out about this film to me, because look, are there things here that we've seen done in other films before? Absolutely, and that's to be expected in a film like this, but what this film is able to do is take those things that we've seen before and make them feel fresh, make them stick out in ways that they normally wouldn't, and it's mainly just because of how good the screenplay really is here, especially when it's focused on the character of Brian. He's not just some attorney that is doing this because it's his job. He's doing it at first for that reason, but as the film goes on, you start to see just what he is going through, and he's kind of like the audience in that way, where like he's very unaware of just how harsh of a reality this is. And obviously, yes, we're far more open-minded these days, but when you get into a place like death row, I mean, you don't realize just how dire of a situation it is, and just the certain things that he sees in this movie, the stuff that he goes through here, it's stuff that does change you. It's stuff that really does affect you and make you not really be the same person after, but also make you feel a lot more, full of wisdom, that you know what's going on and you want to try to change something about this. And the film has a lot to say about why this is a problem and why we need to start taking action. I mean, every day there are men being accused of things that they are not culpable of, and there's almost no evidence to suggest it. And that's the case for almost every single man that's been imprisoned in this movie. There's like barely a shroud of evidence to imply any of it, but because the fact that it's the easiest narrative to go with, that's why they are in there. And that's especially the case for Walter, who from the beginning of the movie, you know this guy is not guilty. You know from the very beginning there's no way he could have possibly committed this crime, and the fact that he's stuck here when there's barely any way to suggest that he did this, and there's almost no connection whatsoever, there are things that just don't add up. You can really see how unfair this really is, and how this has really altered his family life, what this has done to them. It's absolutely devastating to watch, and the film does a really great job with that. But the thing that impresses me even more about Just Mercy is, like I said, these are not the type of characters that we would normally get in a film like this. Normally, you'd get characters that are so overly, they're so overly invested in this that they're yelling a lot. They're doing things to ruin their position. And that's not who these guys are. Bryan Stevenson and Walter McMillian are fairly composed people. They are not the type of people that are going to act out. They're not the type of people that are going to react, but they care very much about what they do, and they want to try to present this in a way that, is the most, is the most in their favor as possible, especially for Walter. Just the stuff that he's been through, it's absolutely ridiculous. The way the people treat him, the way that people treat his family, even, it's just so unfair the way all of that does go down. But still, throughout all of this, these two men remain calm. They don't try to react as much. A perfect example is that scene you see in the trailer where Walter's son is getting more erratic and he is really lashing out at this judge. But who doesn't? Well, that's Walter and Stevenson, because even though they know that they are wrong for what's going on here, they know that they can't do much. They know that they just kind of have to sit there and take it. And it's a sad reality for sure, but unfortunately that's the way that it goes in this film. And certain characters, they don't get that justice that you want them to. And I'm not going to spoil the hows and the whys, but the things you see in this film, it went a lot deeper into this than I really was expecting, especially when it comes to Tim Blake Nelson's character, who I was expecting to go in a very villainous direction. But even him, they show this as a guy that should not be here. Like, this is not a bad person. He was in the wrong place at the wrong time. He's in a very bad situation. And you can see how this has really weighed on him. All of these characters, it's very much weighed on him. They're all kind of like a family in that way, where they're all supporting each other. They're all trying to build each other up because they know they can all relate in that way. They all know how tough of a transition this is. They all know how inhumane all of this is, and they're trying to do what they can to remain as positive and as uplifted as possible, even if it's not possible to do. And Rob Morgan's character is the perfect representation of that. This is a guy that is just bracing for inevitability. Like I said, he's been in this jail cell for years. He knows that there is no way to possibly solve his case. He knows that it's pretty much closed. It's a closed case. He knows that it's a closed case at that point, and there isn't a lot that he's willing to do to try to change that. And it's really sad to see, but again, the way that these men are reacting, someone like O'Shea Jackson Jr., he also reacts a lot differently. He's way more positive about this whole thing. He's the one who's trying to be the optimist in this situation, while Walter is just a little bit more neutral. He has the idea that maybe he can get out, but maybe he can't, and I really like the way that was done here. I like seeing all the varying perspectives of these men in this situation, because you really do see how much this has affected them. And even the real villain of this movie, played by Rafe Spall, he's not done in a cartoonish way. You just get that he's very smug. He doesn't want to try to look any further because he just wants this to be, he wants this to be a closed case. He doesn't want to have to do anything else, any other research like what Brian is doing, where he really does press hard into getting that information. And I think the film just does a really great job with how it decides to go about the screenplay, but also how much I think it's going to open your eyes to the real injustices going on within this system. It's stuff that you might know about, but I don't think you realize just how drastic it is and how much of a pressing issue that it really is, and how much it still is, unfortunately, highly topical today. And I think the film does such a great job with that here. But yeah, the screenplay, like I said, is fantastic. It's way better than I really was expecting. The cinematography, though, also is fantastic in this film, especially the scenes in the jail cell. You feel like you're trapped there. You feel like you're just as secluded, and you feel almost as hopeless. And there's one scene especially that really sticks out in terms of cinematography, and I think they did some really great stuff with that here for sure. I was very impressed by the cinematography in this film. The score I also did like quite a bit. Nothing like amazing that like needs to win best score, but definitely a score that I think really did work for this film. In terms of editing, though, this film was a lot better than I thought it would be. I thought this would be a film that was overly long, but I wouldn't really say that it was. I think this film went by pretty fast for me. There wasn't really a moment where like I wasn't invested in what was going on, and I thought they did do a really good job with that. So again, there's a lot that I really do love about this film. I think that it is a hard watch for sure for many. It's definitely going to be a film that isn't easy to watch because you are quite perturbed throughout a lot of it with the way that people are reacting and how racist some of these characters are, because yeah, a lot of it is a race issue, but not all of it is a race issue, which I did appreciate. It's not that black and white. There's other men that are in here for different reasons other than their race, and obviously the race part is the most prevalent, but I liked that there were other reasons besides that, because that's the stuff that doesn't get talked about it as much, and I really did like seeing that here for sure. And so, again, there's a lot that I really do love about this film, but is it perfect? No, I do have a few issues here and there. My biggest being Brie Larson's character. She's good in the movie. I like what she does here. And I understand that she's obviously a real person and that there isn't really a lot they could have done, but they don't really give her much to do here. She's just kind of the second attorney that is assisting Stevenson, and she's one of the only characters that is, open to what's going on and that she wants to do something about it. And again, she's good in the movie, but I just didn't feel there was anything interesting going on with her. And as much as I do like her in the movie, I really wish there was something more going on there, because she doesn't really have that much of a role in this film other than to assist Jordan's character, and that's kind of all she does here. Also, there is a point in the movie where this huge thing happens. There's this great build-up, and then it cuts to it immediately falling flat on their face, and I would have actually liked it if they would have kept that built up just a little bit more. I think they cut to it just a little too soon, and I would have liked it if we spent a little bit more time giving us this false hope that maybe what they're trying to do is going to work out, and then you can sell that real devastation on us, because I don't think they did as good of a job with that as they could have. And I will say, the last, 3 or 4 minutes of this movie, I did think went on just a little bit too long. I think there were some things that, there were definitely points where it could have cut, and it didn't. But overall, for a film that I wasn't really all that excited for, this is a film that I enjoyed way more than I was really expecting to. It's a film that, like I said, is going to be very hard for many to watch, but it has some of the best performances of the year, a really fantastic screenplay, and a message that is far too topical than it really should be. So overall, guys, I enjoyed Just Mercy way more than I thought I would, and I'm definitely going to give Just Mercy overall an A-. But over, guys, in my review of Just Mercy overall, let me know what you guys saw this movie overall, left your thoughts, and we'll see you guys in my next video. And also, guys, I do have one more movie review coming, and then I will finally get my best list up. I know you guys have waited very long for it, but I do only have one movie review left, and then my best list will be going up then, so look forward to that. But that's it for this video. Hope you guys enjoyed. We'll see you guys in my next video, and we'll see you guys for that. Okay, bye.